Hello and welcome to class. I wanted to take just a few minutes and give you a quick overview of the course as far as the minutiae of operating the course in Blackboard and navigating around the course in Blackboard. My course might be just a little bit different than some of the other online courses that you've taken with RCBC. I kind of have a slightly different style that I use. So when you log into Blackboard, first thing I'd like you to notice is I put the announcements right on the top. I'll always put any information you need to know about the course in the announcements, anything new that you need to know, or anything, maybe if somebody brought an issue to my attention that I want everyone to know about, you'll find that in the announcements. So I put that right at the top so that whenever you log in, it'll hopefully be the first thing that you see. And you can see here, this is the last announcement that I posted where I talked about the lab environment for setting up your lab environment. And I have a little video here, and you'll find that I like to use YouTube videos. Most of my lectures are going to be in YouTube. But I usually give you some information in the announcements that's generic for the entire course. Usually all of the information about a specific unit will be in the units, but anything that changes will be in the announcements. If you need to get in touch with me, you can click on instructor information. That is my official RCBC email in here, but you can also reach me. I kind of snuck it in here, but you can also reach me using my Gmail account. I can't always access the RCBC email when I'm not home. So when I'm on the road for my day job, I teach part-time for RCBC. So if I'm on the road, if I'm traveling, it's a little bit difficult to get emails. I will get them, but if you need an immediate response or something is important, you might want to send it to my Gmail account if it's during the week. You can also call my telephone number, which is as work phone in here. It's 609-500-7342. You're welcome to text message me. You can also call me on the phone. Anything's fine. If you need something urgently, please don't hesitate to call me. If I'm available, I'll always take it. If not, leave a message and I'll call you right back as soon as I can. So that's the instructor information, just like any other course. The important thing for right now for you to look at is the course information. So there is a traditional syllabus that's a Word document. You really don't need to download that Word document. Everything you need to know is in here. You've got the course description, the textbook, which I would recommend purchasing. I usually just use the online version, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. I just buy it from Cengage, the online one, and use it online. But you have your course objectives, the educational objectives, all the normal boilerplate stuff you find in most of your classes. But what you'll probably be interested in is right here, the weighting for the grades. So there's going to be 3 tests in the course. Each test is about 13% of your grade, 40% overall. And then we have practical assignments, which are the labs, right? Most people call them labs. I call them practical assignments because they're not really a lab, right? We're not getting a bunch of beakers out and Bunsen burners, right? So I call them practical assignments. They're basically hands-on assignments. And then you also have what I'm calling written assignments here, but in this class, these written assignments are really just quizzes that you're going to take in each unit. Those quizzes might have a few open-ended questions, but they're going to mostly be true, false, multiple choice. They might ask you to fill in the blank here and there, but really I use those as a study guide. It's a good way for you to assess what you've learned in that unit. And you can do multiple attempts. I usually have those written assignments set up where you can try them 3 times, and it'll take the highest of your 3 attempts. So you can do the first one blind and try it just to see how well you learned everything, and if you bomb it, study and do a second attempt to get a good grade, and maybe try it a 3rd time to see how well you did, how well you retain the information. And if you bomb it, it doesn't matter because the second grade will still be the grade in the grade book. So those are the written assignments. And then each week you're also going to find a discussion board in each week where you want to participate in the discussion board. In this week, the first week in the introduction, it's just really for you to introduce yourself to everyone in the class. So go ahead and introduce yourself. I introduced myself in there so you can see a few things. Make sure you read my introduction because I give you some guidelines for discussion boards in my introduction. So make sure you read that just so you get a good sense of what I'm looking for in the discussion boards. And then finally, you've got the schedule for the semester. So I'm running our schedule starting on Thursdays. The reason I'm doing that is I'm starting on 9/6 because we're a little bit late getting started here. But I arranged the material so that that's not going to really be a detriment here. But it does give you some extra time to set up your lab, which was the announcement that I sent earlier. So you'll see an announcement in Blackboard about setting up your lab environment and getting comfortable with the lab environment, downloading the tools that you need. So you're going to need files, tools, and a virtual machine. You don't have to use a virtual machine. You could use your own computer if you're running Windows 7 or 10. I don't recommend Windows 8.1, but you could use it if you want to, according to the textbook. Although most people, I think, wouldn't have it anyway. But in any event, so starting on 9/6, we're going to really start to get into the material. You should find most weeks there'll be a slide deck in Blackboard. I think I actually have the slide decks in a separate content area as well, in case you want to just download the slide decks. And then and sometimes I'll have YouTube videos where I narrate some of those slide decks. And then there's also so in addition to the discussion board that you're going to do each week, and the lecture materials you'll see, the written assignments, which are really the quizzes I talked about, then you've got your practical assignments, which are listed on the right-hand side. So the practical assignments, I'm going to switch over to the textbook here for a second. All right, so I'm in the textbook. So in the textbook, let me go back to the beginning here. So let's go back to the, oops, I went out to the main page here. Let me go back into the textbook. I'm using VitalSource for my ebooks. It's a nice little ebook reader, VitalSource online. But in any event, when you open up the textbook online, depending on your e-reader or if you have a PDF or if it's the actual textbook, right? So for example, if I go into the introduction section, one thing I want you to notice is they have a table in here of all of the labs. I have to, there we go. So, well, let me step back a little bit. It has some information here about setting up the lab. I'm recommending Windows 10, although Windows 7 works as well. You should have some kind of external drive. You're going to need that for some of the files and to do some of the assignments. Then they give you some basic information here about setting up your lab environment. And then all the tools that you need, right? So these are all the tools. Because I'm using the e-reader, I could just hover over and click on any of these links and it'll take me to the web page to download the tool. So for example, this week, in your first week, you're going to need a tool called Autopsy, which is right here. So you're going to use Autopsy. So if you wanted to download that, you would come over here and click on that link, and then you would be able to download Autopsy. Now when you bring up this link, you'll have to pick the right version for your operating system. So, oops, let me get rid of this. So for example, I have a 64-bit computer that's running Windows, so I'm going to download the 64-bit MSI. But if you were running 32-bit, you would download the 32-bit MSI. So I didn't want to just give you guys, these applications because you might need to download the right one for your architecture. But going back to the textbook, so if we go into Chapter 1, this is obviously where you would, read about all the material for that week. You'll find all of the information you need to know for that week. But when you come down here to the bottom, you've got review questions, right? So you could go through and use these review questions to kind of test your knowledge, use it as a study guide. But more importantly, what I want you to see here is the hands-on projects. So when you get to the hands-on projects, these are the labs that you're going to do throughout the course. Oops, we get rid of that. So you're just going to follow the instructions here, and at the end of each one of these and throughout, it's going to ask you to make note of something, or it's going to ask you to do something. So you can see here at the very end, it says write a short report, no more than 2 paragraphs, that include the facts from any contents that you found. And when you're finished, leave it running for the next project, right? So you're going to write up that little short report that they tell you based on what you did here. And then you're going to go into Blackboard. And let's go back over here to the menu in Blackboard. So if I go into Unit 1, Introduction, it tells me in Unit 1, Introduction, it tells me a little bit about what we're going to be learning about, but it'll tell me to read Chapter 1, complete the written assignment, W1, and to complete the practical assignments, which is Lab 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see here there's a place for you to turn in the deliverables for Lab 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for example, I would click on Lab 1, and when it says to write your short report, you've got 2 ways you could do it. Actually, there's 3 ways that you could submit it. One is you can click on Write Submission, and you can just type it in here. And this is a nice little WYSIWYG editor, so you can put some formatting in here if you like. So you're welcome to do it this way. You could just copy and paste, or you can type right into here if you want. If you want to write your response in a Word document, you can click Browse My Computer and just upload the Word document. I would prefer if you did not use the comments area. The comments area does not do any formatting, so it just looks like it's really formatted very poorly in Blackboard. It's hard for me to read it, and it's not going to look very nice. It's definitely better if you use the text submission over here. Comments is usually something on the side, right? So submission would be the actual assignment that you're submitting, right? The couple paragraphs about the assignment. But let's say you had a problem with the assignment. You wanted to let me know that, hey, I skipped this step or I didn't do something. You can give me those comments that you want me to be aware of when I'm grading it under comments. So that's just for some basic comments, but not for the actual assignment submission. So make sure you use the right submission section. All right. So again, I'll go back to Unit 1. So again, it'll tell you what you have to do. You've got all the links here. So if you click on W1, that's going to be that quiz that I told you about. So I click Begin, and then I can go through and take this little quiz and answer some of the questions in here. And when you're done, you'll submit it. That's pretty straightforward. I think most of you probably have experienced that before. And like I said, you have 3 tries on each one of those quizzes. So you can always try it one time, and if you bomb it, you can try it again. And then finally, you'll have your discussion thread down at the bottom. Usually they'll be down at the bottom. These may not always necessarily be in this order. But for this week, when you click on introductions, right, there's my introduction. So what I ask you to do in my introduction, I have a little paragraph in here that talks about how I grade discussion boards. So make sure you take a look at that. Because when a lot of classes, when they do discussion boards, students just answer a question, right? Each student just answers the question so everybody can see what their answer is. What I would prefer is if we talk about the material. So I'm going to pose some kind of subjective question. Subjective meaning not objective, right? Objective is a right or wrong answer. Subjective means that there could be a right answer, but somebody else might have a different right answer, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat. So what I ask you to do is either provide your own answer to, or your own opinion, or whatever your take is on that topic, or you can talk to other students about it, right? So if somebody already posted something about that topic, you can respond to them and provide your thoughts. And maybe they'll disagree with you and provide their thoughts, and you can have some back and forth. Maybe 4 or 5 of you are discussing the same, general topic for that week. And of course, you can always put in your own topics, right? You don't have to use my primer. You're more than welcome in these discussion boards to go in and talk about something that has to do with that unit's material. So maybe something happened at work that you think is related to that week, or you have experience with something, or you've done something like this before, or you want to talk about something that's been in the news, right? The last time I taught this class in 2016, Hillary's emails were all the rage, and a lot of that related to the different units that we discussed in this class. So a lot of students were talking about that, even though it wasn't a topic that I proposed. It was perfectly relevant for them to talk about that. So everyone gets full credit when they kind of relate it back to the course material, and it certainly makes the course a little bit more fun. So you're welcome to do that. There's also, if you go into discussion, I'll tell you how to get to this. So if you scroll down to the bottom, there is a link for discussions. And this will just be a list of all the discussion threads. So this is just another way that you can get to the discussions. But the Coffee House, you can just use this as an open forum to talk to students. What I would recommend is when you're working on the labs, if you're having any issues with the lab, go in the Coffee House first and create a thread and say, chapter 1, lab 6, I can't get something to work, or something isn't working. And chances are, if you're having a problem with it, other students might be having a problem with it. And somebody may have figured it out, and they'll post their solution. So that's another avenue for you to work with other students. You can certainly use that also to kind of mingle with other students in the class, get to know other students in the class. Use that as a way to contact or reach out to other people in the class. If you're local to somebody or local to the campus, you can meet there and work on labs together if you like. There's labs on campus that you can use. You can meet at a Starbucks somewhere. A whole variety of ways that you can interact with your classmates outside of Blackboard. All right, so that is pretty much everything you need to know about the course here in Blackboard. And like I said, the one thing that always confuses students in this class is, where do I do the labs? They're in the book, and they're always under hands-on projects, right? So you're going to click on hands-on projects. You start right at the beginning, and there'll be a submission link for each one of the projects. So, for example, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. This one also has a 1.5 and 1.6, but I am only requiring you to finish up to 1.4. You do not have to do 1.5 and 1.6. How do I know that? When I come over here and look at Unit 1, there's only 4 labs here, which means you just have to do the first 4, and you can stop at number 4. If you want to continue and do the other ones, you certainly can, but there's nowhere for you to turn it in Blackboard, and I'm not grading that. So if you have any questions or concerns about the course, you're welcome to reach out to me. Just go into instructor information. You can reach out to me via email. You can call me. You can text me. You can send me something on Google. You can reach out to me on Google Hangouts. I can certainly chat with you in Google if you like. So if you have any questions or concerns, again, please let me know. And good luck this semester. Thank you.